Thiele plays in the league with the big boys and big girls. No Oscar party without the German boy. As a teenager, he simply wanted to be a theatrical actor, but then ended up as one of the most successful journalists here in Hollywood, interviewing no one less than George Clooney, Johnny Depp, Julia Roberts, Vin Diesel, Tom Hanks, Steven Spielberg, Dwayne Johnson, Margot Robbie, Angelina Jolie, and the list is long. Sit back and enjoy the show. Hey superstar, you can be proud of yourself. You found this channel because you want more out of your life. Normal is not in your dictionary and you know you can get whatever you dream about. Less talking, more action. My name is Anna Rousseau, your new success host. Welcome to my podcast, Luxury Problems. Alright, today I have my special guest, Chris Thiele. I already introduced him in my amazing intro. It's so impressive what you achieved in all these years being here in Hollywood, and welcome to Luxury Problems.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here.
Yes, right? It feels so awkward because we only see each other like naturally.
Running around anywhere, events,
around.
Offices. And
Yeah,
but different is always new, is always exciting.
exactly,
Right? So.
yes. And I definitely knew that if somebody has to tell a story and share a story, then it's my friend Chris.
Well, it seems, we'll wait how it sounds, right?
Absolutely. And I have a funny story, just like right from the beginning. Chris and I, we met how many years ago? 4?
4 now, I think. 2018, 2017 maybe.
Maybe even. I think we were like writing already online.
Yes.
2017.
2017.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then 2018 we met.
2018 we met. So, fun story. I was on no dating platform in the world. But when I was on film set, some of my guy friends, they were like on this app, swiping left, swiping right, and I was like, what are you guys doing there? And they're like, oh, don't act like you don't know what Tinder is. And I said, Tinder what? So I found out about this dating app, and I saw also that everybody that has a profile, you can choose if you want it, but you can put your profession underneath. Like if you're like a director, you put director. If you're like a hairstylist, you put hairstylist. So and then I'm like, that is actually super smart, because back then I was still in Germany, and I was like, how about networking through Tinder, but from Germany to LA?
Yeah, the funny thing is though, I never had it in LA, but I was in Germany and people in Berlin were using it, and they said, hey, you can just meet up and people have coffee, which is different than here. So I was bored in the airport in Tegel, remember, and I just downloaded it, and so I didn't even do anything anymore until later, so I did it in Germany.
I did
go over here.
Yes, exactly.
And I think that's when I had it one time.
And we had a match.
I said, well, you don't look American. You don't.
Yeah.
It's like, where are you from? You must be German, right?
Exactly. Yes.
So yeah, that was funny.
That was fun, and then I told him, listen, I want to come to the States, I want to open up a business here. Then he helped me actually to get an office in this building right here.
Yeah.
Today we are in your office here on Hollywood Boulevard.
Yeah.
And I rented one office, just one more floor, like on the 4th floor. And
but I think more impressively, I have to say, is because I meet a lot of people who have a lot of dreams, a lot of plans, and they talk a lot. But when you said, okay, I want to kind of know what's going on, and let's meet up, and I was in Berlin, and you said, okay, let's meet in Berlin for coffee. I didn't know that you actually took a bus for 3 hours or 4 hours from Munich to Berlin to have coffee with me for 2 hours, so you can talk about your plans coming to LA, and he giving you tips, and you went back on your bus for another 4 hours for a 2-hour little coffee get-together in Berlin.
no, this bus was not 4 hours. It was like 8 hours because they had delay and everything.
Yeah, I mean, that determination was like, I was so impressed. It was like, wow, I forgot how determined German women are.
Yes,
So it's like,
exactly.
so it really like impressed the hell. I mean, for 2 hour coffee and what 12-hour bus ride. I mean, that was just unheard of. So I was like,
But it was absolutely worth it, and I was so happy that we finally had the chance to meet up. Because other than that, the first time probably would have been when I come again to the States, and the fact that you were in Germany, I knew I cannot miss that opportunity.
yeah, you know, it was definitely a different kind of drive, which I usually don't see
Yeah.
being in that strong, where you really do, first of all, do what you say you would do, but second of all, just jump through all the hoops you can find, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much.
Well, I was like, wow, nice. And then I was very willing to kind of like see, hey, when you come over, let's I know an office building,
Yeah.
and let's cooperate. That's kind of nice.
That's amazing. No,
Yeah. So,
that's how people come together. Be open-minded and network.
yeah, but also just do what you say you do.
Exactly. Keep your
Because
word.
there's some people who actually kind of judge you on that. Just talk is very cheap.
Yes,
You know? And a
very
lot of
cheap.
people this town just talk.
And since we are here in Hollywood,
Yes.
people know about that.
Yes. Yes, there's a lot of talk.
Absolutely. I would like to know, when did you move to LA, and was it always your dream to be here, or did it just happen randomly?
I came 22 years ago. I was still in college, and I had never planned on being in LA. I mean, I was never planned doing anything with entertainment. My plan was work in politics, be a political reporter. I just came back from South Africa. It was quite a. I mean, I had my parents. They actually got me an internship with the German press agency in Johannesburg, and I just lived my dream was literally to be foreign correspondent, travel the world. I mean, Africa, Asia, America, just do politics, and I had a chance to meet. I mean, I really started up high. I always say I really started all the way on top.
You can still go down.
And I really went down strong. I mean, because one of my first interviews in my life was coincidentally Nelson Mandela, and then I interviewed, because the guy who was supposed to interview him was sick, so I was the only one who spoke German and English, so I got to meet him, and so I was really thought, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to go to Washington. I want to work in political journalism, and of course they looked at me like, what, 22? No. So I was like sitting in LA, and I didn't know what to do. So a friend of mine told me, I know somebody who does entertainment. He is like the big shot in town. And I said, entertainment? Yeah, and for like German Yellow Press. And I said, oh man, I don't even know how to do this. But I was hungry, living on somebody else's couch, and I said, all right, I'll try. So I just showed up and said, I want to work. He says, no, I don't need anybody. I don't want to pay you. So I said, all right, I'll just stick around. I'll just look over your shoulder. Don't pay me until I actually help you in any ways, or I'm worth your money. It was in August of 2000, and I worked for free in August. I worked for free in September, October, November, and in December he was nice enough to pay for a ticket home to Germany for Christmas, and said, when you come back, maybe why don't you consider, what you're doing? And so that's how I came back, and I was already thinking about maybe I'll go somewhere else and do something else, and then life has always twists and turns, and I ended still up staying here. It's a long story.
Yeah. Oh, we have time.
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely not a writer for somebody, for Yellow Press. I was more like, like press agency, more like long, more intellectually inclined, at least what I thought. And then my writing style was not really up to Yellow Press, to being like able to reach the broadest spectrum of people at once, and I never learned that. So, but my partner back then, or my later partner and my boss back then, he bought me as a thank you for at least trying. He got me tickets, or one ticket to the Golden Globe, but not to the press room. So he said, well, be in the press room, see what the people.
How was that for you the first time?
I was overwhelmed. I didn't know anybody really. I mean, I was into politics. I didn't read People magazine. I had the Washington Post on my desk, and the New York Times, and the LA Times, and the German magazines, Spiegel, and that's what I got. I didn't read People magazine. I didn't read all the, and most people who won that, so I was there, and I didn't see most of the movie. I didn't know most of the people, and I was in the press room, and the winners would come afterwards and would do an interview behind the stage, and I was impressed, but I was bored with it. Movies, films.
But maybe it was a good thing that you didn't know everybody, because as a young man, you probably have like the fan factor where you're like, oh my god, I'm so nervous, I don't know what to say, like whatever.
Yeah.
Which was probably helpful that you didn't know.
Oh, it was very helpful, because I went to there was a buffet in the room, and so there was a press room and there was an interview room, and in the middle there was a buffet back then the only place where you could get food at the Golden Globes. So I'm standing at the buffet, and there was this cute young blonde behind me, which was about my age, and so she asked me, "Oh, can you give me a plate?" And silverware, and I said, "Yeah, here you go." And she said, "Oh, so where's your accent from?" So that's so I'm German. This is like my first time here, and she said, "Oh, so cool." And we talked a little bit, and she just asked me, "Hey, are you going to be late at any of the parties?" I said, "Well, the guy who brought me, he actually has tickets to the HBO party, so I'm going to be at the HBO party." And she said, "Oh yeah, I'll be there too, so that's fine, we say hi." And I said, "Okay, all right." So then I went to the HBO party, which is all at the same hotel, Beverly Hilton, and I went to the party, and I saw her with another woman, and she said, "Hey, come over here. My friend, she speaks German, actually. She's Boston," and I didn't really realize, I should have maybe, but gave it away that they were somebody that they had 2 Golden Globes on the table, but so at some point, so I'm talking to the other woman as well. Everybody's like around their 20s, my age, and I was like crowd around us, and so at some point my boss sees me, and he just waves me over, "Hey, come here." And so he looks at me like, "So wow, so how do you know Kate Hudson and Renee Zellweger?" And I said, "Who?" So I accidentally stumbled upon some of the people who won that year. Yeah. And so that gave him the idea to actually send me to interviews, because he says, "You know what, you might probably get other stuff when you're the same age group as when you are in your 50s, and so some funny daddies." So so he sent me out to a couple of interviews, and it started horribly again. I mean, I got, of course, the wrong people, but then it kind of, I got the worst interview partner ever as my first interview, Sean Connery, which I loved. I knew him, James Bond, Sean Connery. It's like, wow.
Absolutely.
And he hates press. I didn't know that.
Oh.
I walk in, and I thought it was him and Catherine Zeta-Jones, which I was fully in love with back then. But I just saw her in Master of Zorro, and I was like, wow, that woman is amazing.
So you knew her at least.
I knew him too, and I didn't know, and I thought he's James Bond. He's nice, British. But I was told that there was the director coming in first for the interview, which I forgot the name of. So I having my little note cards, which back then I wrote interview questions down and had all written down, and then suddenly Sean Connery walks in, and I got the wrong interview question, so I'm starting to go through, and it takes me 30 seconds, and I literally was so nervous that I read the wrong question for Catherine Zeta-Jones for him. So I asked and he looks at me, "You're a bloody idiot, aren't you?" And he just gets up and walks outside. And I'm sitting there like, okay, there goes my career. And so I'm sitting there literally destroyed. First of all, my idol just told me I'm an idiot, right? So second of all, this is my big shot finally to maybe still make it this town. I completely failed, right? Yeah. So I'm sitting there in German we say a little, Häuflein Elend. Häuflein Elend, I was just sunken, I was sunken there oh my god, what will I do? And then at some point, I didn't even see it, Catherine Zeta-Jones comes in. And so she looks at me, she says, "Oh, having a hard day?" And I said, "Yeah, I just said," and I told her that, my Sean Connery interview did not go well. So she was telling me, "Oh yeah, Sean can be a little bit harsh on press. He doesn't really like the thing."
That was helpful.
So we're talking, and so she says, she just came from Wales to the United States, so she was very fresh. I told her I'm new in LA too. So we just talked about LA, and actually she talked about men in America are different, and so we really had this really nice little chat. And suddenly her PR person comes in and says, "Okay, time's up, interviews are over."
No way.
And I didn't ask her one question about the movie. Literally no question for my questions, for my nice little question cards, and said, "Okay, now I'm finally really fired." So thankfully I at least had my tape recorder still running from Sean Connery, because I never turned it off. So at least I had it there. So just not to be a complete failure, I typed up the transcript of my chat with Kathy Jones and sent it to my boss. Didn't hear from him for like 2 weeks, and I'm thinking, okay, fine, that's it, right?
Yeah.
So he calls me up and says, you know what? He said, I'm doing this now for 30 years. I've never had 2 editors call me and say how great that interview is. I said, what interview? Yeah, the Catherine Zeta-Jones interview, because it was such a nice little free-flowing private interview, and he said, yeah, whatever you did, continue it. So from that point on, I never ever have taken any questions into interviews. I just watch a movie, read up on who they just divorced, new girlfriend, or maybe kid, because that's embarrassing if you ask about their wife. And that's how I kind of like have been doing my interviews, really free-flowing. You go not with the first answer, you go whatever the answer, then you go into that, and then you have some kind of free-flowing thing. So that has been my style.
That is amazing.
So that's how I turned it around.
And I think that you were probably one of the only people doing it, since everybody's always just super prepared when they know they have to do with like a celebrity that's like #1 on the watch list right now, and everybody's just like going their blueprint down, and you're like, hey, let's go. I'm brand new here, let's kick it.
Yeah, I mean, you are so focused on the next question that you actually don't listen really to the answer. And mostly the answers are, A-listers especially, they get prepared for press interviews, right? So they have the answers ready. But if you actually ask them about the answers, when you hear something, okay, wait a minute. So I just interviewed Mark Wahlberg, for instance, and we had to talk about the movie, and one of his answers was because I asked him about the cat in the movie, and he just, like, the last sentence was, well, I'm more like a dog person. So my next question, if I would have been, okay, and so how was the chemistry? No. I said, oh, dog, what kind of dogs do you have?
Yeah.
And he said, oh, I have 2 little tiny teacup something.
Yeah.
So you Mark Wahlberg teacup little what? Really? Pomeranians, right?
Yeah, oh my God.
So we literally had to talk about his Pomeranians, how he gets like, he doesn't want to, he actually picked that dog because he's afraid of poop, so he wanted to make sure that they have the small, and he still cannot actually come close to the poop because he gets gag reflex.
Oh, wow.
He says, so he has his children, make sure they pick up after them. So we had this really nice about dogs, poop, and that was not a conversation I started. It was literally him volunteering, and he really got into it. So I don't have to ask him. He's really going into how
because it like opens up the conversation a little bit. It's not so like, oh, I'm a robot guy. I'm a slave right now. I gotta answer all the questions somebody has prepared for me.
Yeah,
that is great.
It's a conversation. It's not just an interview, and that's what you kind of want to do.
Yeah, amazing stories. When you were a kiddo, like, I don't know how old, maybe between 5 and 10 years old, can be later, can be earlier. As far as you remember, what was your dream job? Did you have like a firefighter dream job, or what did you like as a kid?
I wanted to be a theater actor. I actually already I researched or heard about where the best for theater actor, the best acting school was in Vienna. Schauspielschule Wien. Vienna. So I think when I can remember, one of my first big thing was theater. I played like in my little elementary school. I played theater. I was actually in some play in even my town in a real theater, and I really wanted to do theater. That was my thing. And I'm somebody who is not good for camera because my hands go out too much. I'm too loud when I speak.
Italian, like
yes, I'm Italian. So that actually works well in the theater because you really can gesticulate, express. Bad for television, so I'm really not. So, but at some point it changed because I think politics became more important because we live close to the East German border. So a lot of, there was a lot of political tensions back then, and there also was, the wall coming down. So, and the propaganda
89.
from the. So I got exactly. So I got all the propaganda channels from the East, and I think, wow. So I got this notion of I want to inform the world of the truth, and I want to do some politics and political reporting. And I saw when I was like traveling, I saw people doing this, and then I thought this is fascinating. You go to different parts of the world, talk to people, discover stuff, and then I just that's how it changed. But theater actor was my initial big dream.
That sounds really, really interesting, and somehow you're still connected to that industry, and it kind of merged together.
Are you telling me that there's acting in Hollywood? Nah!
Maybe.
I mean,
I'm
there's
not
more
sure.
acting actually outside the studios than no.
If some directors are watching that podcast episode right now, Christine from Germany, if you need somebody with
Yes, theater. I do want to pay for free down the road. You know, that's my my next step.
yeah, that would have been the next question. How it changed? Why did you pursue it? But you already answered that question.
That went quick. Yeah, it was just that politics because it was so real to me, and and just I remember we watching this propaganda channel in school as well. How the East communist propaganda said how Western youth were like totally all on drugs and like we had all the money and we were like decadent and thinking, have they ever looked over the wall? You know, no. And I mean, literally when I went from school home, our school bus, the U-turn at the fence. So the village where I lived, one village over was literally separated by the fence and the death zone between two pieces. So our school bus would actually do a U-turn at that.
Which was the village name?
It was Niedergandern was the west side and Obergandern was the east side.
I never heard about that.
Well, of course not. There were thousands of those little villages. It's not Berlin. It's like you know how the fence went. We had like what, like an 800-kilometer fence. I mean, there were hundreds, probably hundreds of little villages which were separated. So that was very normal, of course.
Crazy.
So yeah, you lived down where you lived. There was no walls.
No, we had like cows and pigs and chickens.
We had that too, but we also had like mines and landmines and self-shooting fences and so I wasn't really allowed to play there. So suffice to say.
Poor guy, but then at least he focused on his career.
Yes, so that was. But yeah, no, I mean, but whatever you want to do, I mean, you kind of keep in the back of your mind, and there's never really the direct line in life. So. Of course, yes. Even when I did entertainment, I still do entertainment, but I got the chance when I think in the Bush years there was suddenly after Bush was elected, there was suddenly interest in politics because it was more entertainment.
Yeah.
So they suddenly asked me, or they asked us, would you like to do some more, explain? Oh, there was elections in Florida back then. There was a big scandal with the hanging chads, and they didn't understand what was going on. I mean, I studied that. That was my major at university. So I said, hey, I can explain that. So I finally got into what I wanted to do all along. I actually got to write some political stuff. I'm doing to this day. I'm doing that. So yes, you never get a straight line in life.
Exactly. But there will be always an opportunity for everybody in the right time if it's meant for you.
Yeah.
I truly believe that.
Yeah. I think that is. And just don't give up and just figure out if there's a side door somewhere. Usually there is. So.
Yeah. Oh, you know about them side doors.
Oh, I know those side doors. Side doors are there.
How do you feel that society and the environment is important or effective on your personal pursuing to achieve your goals? Do you feel like the society and the government that too, but the environment has an influence about young people growing up and trying to find themselves?
When you mean environment, like the personal environment, like
Can be
parenting,
parents,
friends,
but also co-workers, people that naysayers, like, oh, you can't do it, like people tried it before you, and so on.
It depends on what kind of. I mean, mostly it has to do with how you grow up with your parents. I think if they instill like self-confidence that do your thing, go on your path, we support you, whatever you do, you can handle the naysayers because you always find them because they're always the ones who wish they would have done something and they didn't, and instead of like bettering themselves, they will try to pull you down. And you have a lot of those, but my parents kind of were very supportive of whenever I changed my mind, they go for it. And I mean, it can be very influential if you are really easy to be influenced, or not even easy. Sometimes it's really hard. You want to at least get a boy once in a while when you do something right, and it's not always easy to get the praise you're expecting. So you have a choice. You either wait forever for somebody to say the right thing, or you actually stop, do this for a second, say, you know what? I kind of did that. So good job, and make it more important what you think about yourself. I think that's the best thing. But otherwise, you will never get the praise you're waiting for. I mean, your parents may, but I mean, it's not. At some point, you will have to go above that and have to kind of find drive and satisfaction of what you do, and you give yourself goals. If you meet them, yes, you cannot stand still, but
Yeah.
you still acknowledge, give yourself something cool. Say, okay, you know what? I deserve to go on a trip because we got that, or I buy myself something
Some
nice.
treats that
Yeah, treat yourself because that is the best. And then you say, okay, what's the next step?
Not stay in the treatment zone, like just like have a goal,
Yeah.
put the work in, and treat yourself for the little achievements that you had. Because if you just like on the go, and I know about it because I've been that way and I'm still kind of that way, but I started to learn enjoying the achievements that I made just in order not to burn myself completely out. And once you are working with celebrities like you do, you're like in this other zone. You don't realize it because for you it's kind of getting normal. That's what you do. But other people are telling you and sometimes bringing you on bottom ground again, saying, hey, you did that. Like, you can be super proud of yourself.
Yeah, I mean, you do lose sometimes perspective. I mean, because if you are in your world, and I mean, you work with other people who might even be more successful, and it's always easy to compare yourself to people who even get one step further, right? But I mean, don't forget that you actually jump over 98% of the other people, and you forget that. It's easy to forget because they're already in your back. I mean, I don't look back. I mean, because everything what you do in life is like, I see life as a number of episodes, like eras and all that, right? And you can go back and say, you know what, that was a stupid phase in your life or era, and I mean, I would never do this right now, and you can either say, you know what, I regret it for the rest of my life, or say, you know what, back then, that was right for me. And I learned that it was completely wrong for me, but...
You learned so much
through it. And are we all prone to do some of the same mistakes again? Yes,
No.
we are. yes, and I'm first. I mean, I think I need to run against walls at least twice before I know they're not moving, So that is like something, and if I do it 3 times in a row, then it's on me. I mean, but at some point you have to decide whether you want to move on.
Yeah. Which explains your zodiac sign. What you are?
Taurus.
Taurus, exactly. With the head through the wall.
Yes, I'm always good. But then I'm grounded enough at some point to say, you know what? Just go through the door.
Yeah.
The door's on the other side. So.
Yeah. And maybe the door's already a little bit open.
Yeah, mostly it is, because you just don't see it, because we're so focused on that part of the wall. And that happens there. I mean, it happens, but stepping back, and that's also about writing as well, which is something I learned through my partner and my mentor. When one of the hardest things to write in journalism is the first paragraph, actually the first sentence, because you're trying to hook in everybody, and not only a certain, you're trying to hook in some guy who reads at 8th grade level, and then maybe some professor, and you try with the first sentence to rope everybody in, and then get a clever way to get into the story, right? And if you spend more than 15 minutes trying to get this perfect first sentence or the connector and you don't get it, see, I used to be like so competitive that I wanted to get that sentence and then pack it in. And my mentor used to say, you know what, 15 minutes max. After that, get rid of it, find a completely different topic. I mean, or like topic sentence. So, and that's also with jobs, life, I think partnerships. I mean, you can only just do so much, and some things don't change anymore.
Yeah, that's true. It's not really all in your hands. You have to work with the environment.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. And also be realistic about that something is wrong and you have it doesn't go in.
Exactly.
So it's not going to do it. And people don't change for you. That's another thing. They never do. They change you for the best, for the worst.
So we don't want that. Did you have any, sometimes you have like that big win, that big success that you will still remember until the day you die, but there are certain things where you feel like there's the biggest loss, but in the same time, it turns out to be your biggest win. When you think everything is falling apart right now, like my situation back then, when you even remember with my business partner, and I thought I'm going to be homeless, I have nothing no more. But out of that desperate situation, I had the idea with my online makeup school. Aaron's actually had the cards today with me. These things would have not happened if I would not have had that loss. Do you have some experiences like that?
I mean, I think in terms of life not being a straight line, and sometimes you really go a long way out of the way to go back in. I mean, like I said, the short version of how I came to LA was one, but originally I had a different plan. I actually found somebody who did some sports journalism, which I met in my hometown in Germany through a teacher of mine in Göttingen.
Göttingen.
Yeah. So in Göttingen, I had no job. I still had a year after my college year. I was able to work, but I couldn't find really a job, and I didn't want to get a job where I really worked for a company, and I was trying to find something to work for, and I couldn't. And I wanted to actually stay in California, and I couldn't get it done, so I went back to my hometown in the summer, and I worked a little bit there as a bartender, and I'm going through my city, my hometown, and there's my old teacher, a teacher of mine, which I knew, who was also a neighbor, and he sat with another guy, and he introduced us. He said, "Hey, it's Stefan. He is do you know each other? No, he's a journalist in the United States. He does sports." And started talking, and he said, "Well, you know what? I mean, I'm kind of looking for maybe somebody who help me out with, American sports." I mean, he said, "Well, you know what? Because I kind of want to, I have my office in Manhattan Beach, but I do want to kind of do more reporting all through, America and maybe worldwide." And there's this young German basketball player which I met, and we kind of friends, and I kind of want to like go with him. His name is Dirk Nowitzki. He's like 19 years old. He seems to be like, he's going to be a big thing one day.
Oh yeah.
And I said,
I saw even a game with him.
Yeah, so he was right on that one, by the way. So, but he said, "You know what? Okay," he said, "Go back to California, move to Manhattan Beach or whatever, and wait for me. I'm going to the Olympics right now, cover the Olympics. When I'm back, we can literally start. And I'll employ you." And so that was my wow. So I went back and get the place and everything, and waiting for him, and he's not calling me for weeks, which was weird.
And you're already like, "Oh, that's not gonna happen."
Oh, I had put everything, all my money. I mean, I had no more money. I bought this apartment. I got this apartment, and I had all my big dreams and hopes in that. And then he called me at some point, like a month after he was supposed to be back. And yes, his life was derailed by a woman. He met a flight attendant on his flight to Sydney, Lufthansa, who hated America, who says he's from Munich. So he said, "Well, I can go to Munich with her." And I also got an offer from like a big media mogul who was doing like a sports television now, a new one, and said, "I'm not going to come back to LA. So I'm very sorry." In my world, literally, no more money. I had put everything into one car. I mean, all in there, right? So I was like, but he was the one, because he felt bad, said, "Well, why don't you, I know this guy." He was the guy who told me, "And him and guy, and go in the hills, he works there, and maybe just try this." But I had no money, and I moved to a friend's house on the couch for the next 5 months. And but I literally was close to go home and just literally stop my American dream and just come and just find something else. So, and that was, but this is how I became very tenacious. Even the no's I've gotten, I was still, the fact that I was still there, still having a breathing chance at least to do something, didn't discourage me that much. So that's, I think, closest to the answer of, because that absolute, totally expecting this huge success already, and I was already like celebrating myself for it, and then it didn't happen. That's
also relying on other people and hoping they have the answer for your success, but at the end of the day, you have to be dependent on yourself and nobody else, because the only person you can point the finger on is yourself at the end of the day.
So true. You cannot rely on others. I mean, yes, you can use others to kind of stay in your pathway, but
it's good if you don't expect it. It's good when it's coming additionally, like a bonus.
That's right, icing on the cake.
Like a boost.
The icing on the cake is what other people give you extra, but if you don't do your own path, it's just not gonna happen.
And don't get me wrong, I don't want to point out the negative things, but I think it's so important, like for all the viewers out there, because the podcast is about the young generation and people who lost their motivation, that you see somebody like Chris that is so successful and working with all these celebrities. It was not just like, oh, like overnight I became that person and I didn't have no losses and none of that. No, actually all these things happen on your way to the top.
And it doesn't overnight. I mean, you don't go in and then get all the A-listers. I mean, for 10 years you have to deal with the worst C-listers and the reality show stars, and yeah, you have to kind of work your way up, and you have to be patient. I mean, it's just, yeah, and expectation is so true. I mean, don't expect others to just come and offer you something better. You just prove yourself, and then you, yeah, I mean, you can, of course, you always hope for the chance, and everybody gets a chance just to see it.
Yeah, exactly.
And some of it's hard to see it in the, especially in LA, where everybody promises you things. I mean, you have to kind of sometimes cut through the noise and still be optimistic, but realistic.
Yeah.
So I always say I'm a realistic optimist.
That is a really great way of seeing it.
So.
Right now I'm thinking about what Dirk was thinking when he was sending you to that interview and you came back with...
I didn't even dare to, I waited for him to be gone. So I just left him a note, put this little tape player on there, and the script which I wrote, I mean I wrote down all the answers and questions.
Yeah.
So no,
he could not have any expectations.
I was too embarrassed. By the way, back then I couldn't afford a cell phone, so I didn't have a cell phone. So he had no way of reaching either. So I borrowed like 2 weeks later when he called. I mean, he called my roommate, which he knew, and he said, "Can Christian call me back?" So I literally was so embarrassed about this total disaster.
Yeah.
It was.
Okay, it's now you have a story to tell, or I could not get these informations from you, and it makes you the person who you are right now, and all the learnings that you made through all these experiences. You would not have done it if it would have been perfect from the beginning. When you think back, but also this time, how important is belief for you? Some people have different religions or beliefs. Some people believe God is their Allah, Buddha. Some people just basically think about source in the universe. Some people don't believe in anything. What is it that gives you that motivation and that drive where you know it's going to happen for me because I put the work in on, that knowing something is there to guide me?
I think finding out what you need as opposed to what you want, taking away any ritual or religion. But if you ever come to a point where you actually maybe went through some bad phases where you kind of went the wrong way and you recalibrate and you find out what do you really need, meaning what makes you who you are, where are your strengths coming from. So I kind of found that out, and my case was like I need to have my family, my friends, a certain amount. I need to have the freedom to kind of travel, to actually make decisions. And once you have that set up, you can negotiate what you want. So that's where you can say that it's self-confidence, it's self-worth,
So it's basically belief in yourself.
Yeah, believe in yourself, but also know it's not just this concept of this believing on this blind belief. It's more like, I know I need this. And what do I do to either fulfill my needs in that sense, and you learn how to actually set it up so it actually works out. So and that's where you draw strength from, right? And who are the people who actually give you strength? If you have a family which still does it, or if you have really a few good friends who will put you down. I mean, my friends most of them are either from my elementary school, or my American friends are from when I came here with 16 from high school.
Wow, that's a long time.
And they don't take any of my.
You want to give shout out to some of your friends?
So Jason, Nick, Knaufi, and so they are not anybody who are impressed with anything what I do.
Yeah.
They literally will remind me of all the crap I've done at 15, and they will put me back to exactly where I belong, right? So that's very nice to.
But they're also uplifting if you do something.
Always. No, if I'm in trouble or if something is really up, they're the first one who will give you the utmost support, my family as well. So that's a need you discover, and from that point on, yes, do you go through shitty phases? Are you overwhelmed? Do you think, I don't know how to do this?
Yeah.
Of course. But then you literally at some point have to kind of ask for help or kind of get somebody else's opinion, and you talk about it, and that's how it works for me.
Absolutely. So basically, you know who you surround yourself with, the people you have in your circle, and also, I personally think it's for you also, and should be for everybody else out there, but not everybody is that self-confidence, but you have your confidence just by knowing whatever you set as a goal, you know if you put the work in, you're going to achieve it eventually. Maybe 2 times, maybe 3 times, but you're gonna hit the wall. And if not, you find another way to go through another door.
Or you look how you measure success.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yes, if you have nothing, you have a goal, you want to go towards that, yes, that goal is the most important thing for most people, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've found for myself and for many others that, and it's a very German thing too, a lot of Germans rather are unhappy and safe than trying something they really wish for.
And I'm not German at all.
You're not at all. No, you are very unusual.
You're no fun baby.
So I think trying something you want to do, getting out of your comfort zone, even which you absolutely hate. It doesn't matter your comfort zone or you have this, this typical German phrase, we call it Schuster, bleib bei deinen Leisten.
Oh, yeah.
Koppler, stay with your souls,
Yeah.
and meaning stay whatever life told you where you have to be.
Yeah.
And even if you're absolutely unhappy and miserable, stay with that because at least it's safe
Back
for
to
the rest.
the question with the society and the environment.
Yeah, environment, that's exactly what it is. So, and I found that the people who actually got over this, at least tried something, and you can say, that for me is success.
Mm-hmm.
That you actually go for something. You're not only planning on it,
Mm-hmm.
you actually even take into account that you might lose maybe a job, maybe actually disconnect with certain friends who will always sabotage you, doing something which they wouldn't do, or they're just jealous. The fact that you go for something, especially going to a different country, what I told you, when you literally leave your comfort zone behind, you go to a different country, even different city, also or completely different job, something. That's doing that. That's the win.
Mm-hmm.
The success will come, but that's the icing on the cake. And even if you don't get to the goal you wanted, let's say you don't get winning an Oscar, right, or whatever, if that was your goal. That's what I hear people say, oh, I want to come. I don't want to be an actress. I don't want to get a role. No, I want to win an Oscar.
For that Oscar right now.
My Oscar up there, so I put it on. And
So he has one.
so yes, it says best host. It's from the souvenir shop down. And shout out to Ray who gave it to me. Thank you very much.
Okay.
So, but yeah, it's so I think that is one of the most important things, that you have to see success as something which starts with the hardest thing ever, to actually get over your own fears, insecurities, and out of your comfort zone and try something.
Yeah.
And yes, even if you don't get to where you want to be, at least you have proven yourself that you are able to get out of that morass. This little, the deep,
dirty mud that soaks you in.
Yes, so the fact that you will be able to do it again,
Yeah.
it's a threshold you went over.
Mm-hmm.
That is success. I mean, there is no other way to describe that.
Yeah.
Yes, and will there be different degrees of success? And yes, of course, and you can use this, and it's never a failure. And people will tell you, oh, you failed.
Yeah.
I mean, I know people who tried to come over here and went back home, and they were just miserable because people who never left their little place, and because they are afraid, will then be the first, I told you so.
Yeah.
That answer is, see, you're still sitting here and I'm
Yeah.
miserable. I tried, and I will not have a midlife crisis at 45 because I actually tried it. It didn't work out. It actually wasn't the right thing for me either.
Yeah.
And now I will come back and see another pathway. That is a success. I literally, I broadened my horizon so much that most people who will criticize me will never even experience.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
so I think that is very, very instrumental. And most happy people I find are like that, have actually really find success for them and just go on. Those are the what we call movers and shakers, right?
Yeah.
Because they always move something else, they shake something else. Because why? Because they're not exactly where they want to be, but they decide I can go on and shake the tree here and just move around.
It's all about actions.
Yeah.
And
I mean, you do that, so I mean, you just see where and sometimes, oh wow, that really worked out. Oh wow, this is really what I can.
that works actually pretty good. Like, let's keep moving in that specific area.
Yeah, that's what it did. You sit on your couch and said, why is somebody calling me?
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So that would be the alternative. It would be safe.
I know, no.
Nobody would yell at you. Nobody would tell you, what the hell are you doing here? It's just, that sucks.
Yeah.
If you cannot take people telling you off, I mean, yes, you have a hard time in life.
Yeah. I already was asking you earlier, but he said he's not going to answer the question. But maybe I formulated it the wrong way.
All right, try
I
me
would
again.
like to know what is your most secret, or let's call it deepest wish that you never really fulfilled or achieved because you thought it's maybe too big or it's too far away, can be like the most simplest thing, but something that you really would like to do one day in your life.
Okay, because since it is not the biggest secret, but one of my biggest things I always wanted to do, well, actually two things. I think I always wanted to rent an RV for like, I don't know, 3 months and really ride through every state there is in Canada and Mexico and just really discover.
Nice, like our friend Dita did.
Yes, exactly.
Like just like
Dita,
traveling
yeah,
around.
she did. That's something I always wanted. And the other thing which I really, really always wanted to actually learn how to maybe sail or like get a motorboat or any kind of boat
Nice.
and go for like a couple months, half a year through the Caribbean, you know. And
Mhm.
that's something I probably will do.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm thinking about really now setting myself a time frame next year.
Nice.
to
That
the-
sounds pretty.
I mean, at least going to the Caribbean and getting a boat
Yeah.
and having. I already talked to some friends about that, but
amazing.
so this has always been something which I always excuse. I don't have time. I don't have the money. It's inconvenient.
Mhm.
People will yell at me. I might lose out on this. So I always have been that excuses.
Yeah.
I'm still moving up. You always move up, or you really always go down where you actually have to kind of. So you always have a really good excuse.
Yeah.
It's like having kids or not having kids. It's always a good excuse not to have or to have whatever.
Yeah.
So, but it's I'm really I think you have to really just then decide, okay, I'm just going to do it, and then I deal with the repercussions.
Okay, I will get back to you next year then and see if you like still here or if you finally did it. I'm gonna be on your ass to you.
By next August, I will have conquered the Caribbean
Awesome.
on a boat.
That's like a manifestation right here.
Yeah, no, I have. No, I literally have already started planning this weekend.
Awesome.
It's interesting enough, so.
Set yourself goals, make time for yourself, and don't overwork yourself because time is not coming back. You can get money back all over and all over again, but time is not coming back.
No.
That's why it's super, super important. I would like to know who you would like to have dinner with and what would you ask that person. By the way, it can be everybody, doesn't have to be a human being, can be a comic figure, somebody that you really would like to get advice from.
Advice.
Mhm.
Just not talk, but advice.
I mean, it can be just simple talk. Whoever like really you look up to.
I mean, see, I always want. I mean, one of the people who always fascinated me because I read biographies was Albert Einstein.
Oh,
And,
wow.
and then my friend Zinika, she actually works for a foundation with Caltech, who translates his letters and his diaries every year. They bring out a new book, 2 years worth of his life.
Oh,
It's
wow.
mostly written in German, but also Hebrew. And
Yeah.
but just, I mean, obviously everybody knows his like his big theories and his space time.
Mhm.
But I mean, I would love to have dinner with him and just talk about life and how you see. I mean, I always wanted to see how geniuses. I mean, I probably would also talk to Elon Musk about this, you know.
Mhm. Mhm.
Even though, I mean, you might have to. It's harder to talk to him probably, you know,
Yeah.
depending on what drugs he's on right now. So, but I'm talking to somebody who really has seen things others have not
Mhm.
and has formulated them, and just to see how they see life. You know, this is kind of. I mean, Leonardo da Vinci would be somebody else.
Yeah.
Literally, you are above hundreds of years, you know, ahead of humanity, and to talk to people who are those innovators,
Mhm.
who really also go. And I mean, people who risk their own lives, you know.
Yeah.
You know, well, it's just so fascinating to me. Yeah, so but Einstein is the first one that comes to mind. I have to say.
Awesome.
And,
Or that I can totally see you guys sitting on one table and having drinks together and philosophing about life.
yeah, it's life, but just how. I mean, those people. How do they see the real world? You know,
Mhm.
how do they evaluate what time we're in right now?
Yeah.
You know, politics, environment, human interaction.
Mhm.
It's just so fascinating to me how people who have that extra piece of brain, I would call it, you know,
Absolutely.
how do they evaluate things? Because I
Yeah.
always wonder, you know,
And different perspectives
Perspective,
also.
yes.
Mhm.
somebody who has such a broad horizon, you know, which is less by nature, God, whatever, you know,
Yeah.
who has that ability.
Cool.
That fascinates me, it always has.
you know what? One day you can ask him. Not very soon, but
Thank you.
one day you can ask him all these questions.
I think I'm also going to read some more of his stuff just to see what the thing between the lines you can read.
Yeah,
read a lot.
absolutely. Well, that was super cool. I mean, there's so much more you can share with us, I'm pretty sure. But thank you so much for being here today with me, or thank you so much for having me being here with you today.
Anytime.
Anytime. What would you like to share with our future, the kids out there, people that have visions and goals and dreams, and they feel like it's not the right time and I'm not ready for it, or I don't have the bonus people around me I need to get where Chris is right now? What can you let these people know?
Well, first thing, don't go into journalism.
Chris is already in there.
Yes, so it's a horrible field, no, but
Okay, wait 1 second.
yes. So, I mean, one of the most important things is to find the right mentor. Find somebody who's done it, who's willing to share. And all the obvious stuff is clear. You gotta have the drive. If you really want to have it, if you really want something, this has to be your priority. But it doesn't mean if you don't reach it, you don't fail. But I mean, I think having a mentor, or maybe finding something, researching people, but not use it as a one-to-one. I want exactly what that person has.
Yeah.
That's never gonna happen.
Everybody's different.
Everybody's different. Everybody, and then if somebody's already there, it's also hard to take over that, But yeah, I think, kids, just set yourself, make sure you really want it, because if you really want it, you also are usually inclined to sacrifice something, security,
I just wanted to say that.
sacrifice. So that's what you're gonna do. I mean, I ate for 4 months 10-cent ramen instant soups and lived on a couch with really 4 annoying roommates, 3 of them which I didn't know, and paid no rent. And,
but you saw the big picture.
Saw the big picture, and and if it doesn't go this one way, try to find a different way around it and bypass it, and still don't think you fail.
Yeah.
Literally figure out, maybe I need to get some extra knowledge, maybe I need some extra study, maybe I'll do an internship there. Just don't think somebody in the world has waited for you stepping out of your house and you're it. That's not, yes, an
talent scouting.
Yeah, social media will think, you will think social media will, some people just got it when they're there, but I mean, we know of people that happened, we know people where that happened. Oh, they played their guitar in the park, he was 13, and then there was Justin Bieber, and that's how it happens. No, it only happens like once in a blue moon, and that's not your career.
Yeah.
You go to LA and you see somebody playing in a bar for free, that's mostly what you probably have to expect, so that's how it works. And then be realistic in what you go, just don't be blinded.
Optimistic, realistic.
Yeah, be an optimistic realist. That is the best thing. But yeah, and educate yourself. Talk to people who actually succeeded, but do not really use it as a blueprint. Use it as elements of what you can do. That's what I would say is the most important thing.
Amazing. I would say go out and do your thing now.
Go out, do your stuff.
When people want to look you up, where can they find you?
Well, I think the easiest, which is more like also my work profile, is on Instagram, and it's actually easy. Chris in Hollywood. So
everything together? Chris in
Hollywood, one word, no periods, no minuses, no nothing, and I think I also can be reached, messages, and like I said, it's a little profile of what I do in life.
Awesome.
So so that's.
And especially in times like Oscars or other important events that are happening, you can always check out on Chris's profile, because he's going to share his day in Hollywood, Chris in Hollywood, on the Golden Globes, at the Oscar parties, and so on. And you're going to find a lot of celebrities there.
Yeah, well, you have to at least pretend that you know you're in the middle, right?
Exactly. Even though you don't know anybody.
Yeah, it's called LA acquaintance. When people say hi to you, have no clue who they are or who you are. But but no, it's show what you got, but don't overoffer, because you know that's my last thing. I think that's a very German thing, which is great. I think you don't never overpromise, you overdeliver. Then when you do that, people will give you actually more stuff to do, or give you an extra.
Absolutely.
I mean, you can even fail once in a while, and they will still be okay with that because you delivered before.
Yeah, the quality that you deliver is like way more important than the blah blah around it.
Yeah.
Awesome, thank you so much, Chris. I had such a great time, and I hope we could inspire some people out there. Let us know how you liked the interview. Also, comment down below in the comment box. What is your goal? What is what you want to achieve, but you haven't done it yet because of all the excuses Chris already mentioned too. There's always a way if you really want it, and if you're willing to take sacrifices. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
See ya.
Bye bye.
Bye.